those cases. In fact, speaking of that, as you know, probably most of you know, we've held 2 press conferences in reference to the 2020 protest and the individuals, well, several individuals, more than you know about, actually, who were injured by police officer conduct. Every time we've held a press conference, we've been successful in getting more information, which I cannot discuss. To my knowledge, we're the only district attorney's office, the only prosecutor's office across the United States that has taken this approach. All of my colleagues have told me they have the same problem. People were injured, seriously injured, but they don't know who did it. You say, well, of course, police wear body cams. Not all police, not all circumstances, and we have that here. But what we've done is gone to the public, and we have been very successful in getting additional information that can help us to move forward. We have a little problem. It's called the statute of limitations. That's coming up on May 30th. We're mindful of that, and I've said there's 2 things that are going to stop this investigation from going forward. Either the statute of limitations or we have evidence to present charges, and we will be making some comments on that in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Judge Frizzell, you want to address the Public Integrity Unit and this seeming that DA's office only prosecutes in the hood.
Okay, I agree with Judge DA, keep saying Judge DA Creuzot. Most of the elected officials who are prosecuted are federal. But there were a few officials who were elected officials in the city of Cedar Hill when DA Creuzot first took office, who were engaged in some conduct that people filed a complaint and eventually ended up being indicted by the district attorney's office, and DA Creuzot dismissed the charges. I noticed that was when he first took office, and I think as a district attorney, you have to make sure you can stand up and do what's right. That's why you elect us. Even if sometimes it's difficult to prosecute someone you may know, someone who is your friend, if they're right, they're right. If they're wrong, they're wrong. I want to take the facts and just base my decision on the facts that are in front of me. Those Cedar Hill elected officials ended up being allowed to resign. That is the same thing that we do with many police officers. We let them resign rather than fire them. There are officers who have been even decided by their chief of police that what they did was misconduct, but they don't get fired. They're allowed to resign. Many of them go to other police departments. Some of them right now in specific cases are working in Allen PD. They're in Collin County. They're in Tarrant County. We should make sure we have a way of tracking the officers that have misconduct. Now, I'm not out to just get officers. My brother-in-law is an officer, and we've talked about the tough job that police officers have on the street. They have to arrest robbers, rapists. It's not an easy job. As a judge, I've had a very good working relationship with both officers, my colleagues as judges, all the people that I've worked with. It is important to understand the district attorney's office doesn't just operate by itself. The criminal justice system is made up of defense lawyers, prosecutors, probation officers, judges. There are many different components. I have had a good working relationship with all of the above. That's so important because that's how we get to bail bond reform. There's been nothing done on bail bond reform. And that's a promise that I and my colleague DA Creuzot had made back in 2018. Well, you have to work with the judges, have a good working relationship with the judges to do that, because I don't believe bail bonds should be based on money. Bail bonds should not be based on money. They should be based on the facts of the case, whether a person would return to court to answer for the charges, the same requirements in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. But we will never be able to accomplish that if we don't have a good working relationship with our judges, with our police department. We have to base it on fact-based hearings. If society cannot be safe, you should not be released. If society can be safe and you will return to answer for your charges, you should be released with whatever conditions the judges set. But the judges set that based on the facts, not based on money. Nothing has happened on bail bond reform, and that's something I will address as your next district attorney.
The delivery of justice, and to you, the delivery of justice should not be a partisan issue either. And we saw during the last legislative session a fairly heavy-handed, I will say interference because I can, with state, from the governor's office, with county affairs. How is that dance going? How is that interaction going in when it's going to be, he's talking about DAs in the blue counties versus his glowing red Texas.
Let me make sure I understand the question. Could you repeat your question?
Okay,
I'm
my
not sure.
question is, it appears to me that the governor of Texas was pretty heavy-handed, particularly around COVID-related issues, in interfering with mandates on masks, running into opposition, and he played pretty heavy-handed, and in fact got legislation in place, and is still suing all across the country. How do we take the politics out of the administration of justice?
That's a good point. Right now in Texas, judges are elected, just like politicians are elected. Now, I've been a judge for 20 years of the 29 years I've been practicing criminal law in Texas. Well, some people think judges shouldn't be elected, but that's how it is in Texas. This is one of the states that we have elected judges. I'm running for district attorney. That's obviously elected. It gave me the advantage of already understanding how to put together a campaign from being elected as a judge. But when you say take the politics out of, I guess you're saying the district attorney's office, because Judge Creuzot and I are running for district attorney, it is a political aspect because you have to run as a Democrat or a Republican. The only office you don't have to do that in is if you're running for a city or a municipal court. Now, the mayor doesn't have to say whether he is a Democrat or a Republican. If you're running for city council, you don't have to say whether you're running as a Democrat or a Republican. Anything other than that, you do. But right now, we have a Republican running for district attorney. After I filed for district attorney, we had a Republican run for district attorney as well. So it definitely is a political position. And if we're not careful, we will lose Dallas County's highest criminal position to a Republican. We can't allow that to happen. This is an election that is critical. Sometimes people don't pay attention to these elections when it's not a presidential election. Trump is not on the ballot, so all of a sudden everybody feels safe. Barack Obama is not on the ballot. All of a sudden everybody feels safe. And then we relax and we don't turn out to vote. Do you know how critical your vote is? Some people think, well, one vote won't matter. If I had just gotten one more vote per precinct, this would have made a difference in my election. We had 2,500 ballots under investigation by the sitting district attorney, not the current DA. The previous DA had 2,500 ballots under criminal investigation when I was running for DA. I lost by 589 ballots. They wouldn't release the ballots. These are Democratic people. I asked Clay Jenkins to let me see the ballots. If it didn't make a difference, I'll go away. It was just a close election. That's it. Wouldn't let me see the ballot. So when you talk about politics in the DA's office, we have to make sure it's fair. I'm running for fairness and justice. I'm running for you. Most of you know me. I'm in the community. Ever since I started this race in this DA campaign, you've seen me in your community. Many people have said, where's Judge Creuzot? Has he been in your community? Do you know him? Has he talked to you before I ran for office? You need to know your DA. You need to trust your DA. You need to make sure your district attorney cares about you, and not just what I want to do, what you want to see me do. I will start off by listening to you and make sure that I'm fair and impartial and implement the policies that you want to see in your next district attorney.
Judge, thank you. Hand that mic to Judge Creuzot, please. Maybe I wasn't quite as clear, but my original question was the juxtaposition of, again, Democratic justice versus Republican justice. And how do we, there's no such thing, right?
Well, there shouldn't be, but the fact of the matter is that the two different parties have a different idea about how justice should be practiced on the streets by the police, how it ought to be practiced in the courts, and how it ought to be practiced on appeal. And sometimes we get all out of it. I'm going to give you an example of where me being the district attorney has made a difference in criminal justice on a political scale. Myself and several other prosecutors, elected prosecutors across the state, we fought Ken Paxton. We filed a friend of the court brief and beat him. Beat him at what? Prosecuting people of color for election law violations when he didn't have the authority to do so. That was, who ruled on that? A Republican court in Austin. So that's an example of where it does make a difference as the political party, because he needed to be stopped. He didn't have the authority. He knew what he was doing was wrong, and we managed to stop him. That's where collaborative work made a difference. But it's been brought up about Cedar Hill and some indictments. There are no indictments out of Cedar Hill. There never were. There were just Dallas Morning News stories saying that people in Cedar Hill have violated the law. There have been no federal indictments, no state indictments, no complaints to the DA's office or to the U.S. Attorney's office. It's a twisted up story in the Dallas Morning News that had no merit to it, so there was no reason to go forward on it. So there never were any indictments. We talk about bail. We do have bail reform. I'd invite you, no friend of ours, right, the Dallas Morning News, look at the endorsement that they made in this case. We do have bail reform. It doesn't have anything to do with the judges, but it has to do with Dallas County, the DA's office, and working collaboratively and following court orders and actually doing more than what Judge Godbee ordered us to do. We do have effective bail reform. The lawsuit might not be over, but we have bail reform. Go look at the endorsement in this race. They're no friend of ours. They made it clear. Anyway, I think that's all I needed to say. Thank you. Did I answer your question?
That's fair enough. So we're
Okay.
we're getting on this time crunch now. So
That's fine.
2 minutes for our closing statement, and then to Judge Frizzell.
Okay, thank you. I've been in this community since 1979 when I came here to go to law school. This idea that I haven't been out in the community is, of course, false. In today's world, do we go out in the same way that we did? Of course not. What do? We do it on Zoom. I've been with church groups, civic groups, groups from all over, meeting with city managers, helping them, for example, putting $200,000 into 4 of our cities to help them get an assessment. That's called collaboration. I'm sorry, I don't have to walk down the street to do that, but I did it in meetings with 4 city managers and police departments. We're doing it. What else have we done? Let's talk about legislation, something we don't talk about, the political process. We drafted and sponsored a law called the Richard Miles Act, which for the first time, talk about police reform, it's the only reform bill out this last legislative session that requires what? The police to give us all the evidence and information when they file the case. Never been done before. We did it. How about Bo's Law? We work with Representative Sherman to get that passed, okay? And you can't do it if you're not working collaboratively. We've done the job that we came here to do. Let's talk about the things that we promised to reduce mass incarceration. It is no longer a value of our police departments. It's no longer important to stop our youth and people of color on traffic violations and search their cars. You know why? Because your district attorney won't prosecute the cases. Okay? Turn them down at the door. In fact, we look back. It's been said that we have been. No, we haven't. I had the county clerk look it up. We had 280 or so total cases. We didn't say every case. There's certain exceptions we will take. In 2 years, 280 cases total filed, and those cases are on the way to being resolved. We have done our job. We're working on mass supervision. We have kept all our promises, and thank you for your support. I look forward to seeing you soon, perhaps under better circumstances than COVID-19. Did you get it? They claimed you opened it up wrong.
All right, let me wipe this back.
Thank you.
All right, I have 2 minutes. My clock wasn't working a minute ago. I think it's working now. I'm Judge Elizabeth Davis Frizzell. I have many sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority who came to me and said they wouldn't vote anymore. You thought I had been cheated. It was so close. They waited till 7 days after the election to announce who won. I'm here to tell you, I need you to vote. Don't worry about that. That was the previous election. I need you to vote. This is the recount. Many of you asked me, why didn't you do a recount? You got 49.999% of the vote. It was so close. You should have done a recount. A recount doesn't make much difference. You can't challenge a ballot on a recount. You can only literally recount the numbers. If you know you want a better DA for a better Dallas, here I am. Faith Johnson had a chance. D.A. Creuzot had a chance. Here I am. I need you to vote. I need my Divine Nine, my Deltas, my Alphas, Kappas, Omegas. I'm a graduate of Prairie View A&M University, and I'm a graduate of Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Thurgood Marshall produces productive people, and so does Prairie View A&M University. Look, I am here because I'm a part of you, because I care about you. I had a great position as a criminal district court judge hearing cases From 5 years to 99 years of life, I could have stayed there. I didn't have an opponent on either side. I gave up my bench to do this because I care about you and I care about justice. And I want to make sure you are accessible to me and I'm accessible to you. We can do this. We can win this. We can have better justice in this DA's office. If you don't feel safe, if you don't feel comfortable with the policies not to prosecute 4 pages of different offenses, if you don't feel comfortable that you can't call the police and know that they'll show up and address your concerns, it's time for a change. We can do better in the DA's office. We can have excellence in the DA's office. We can excel with Judge Elizabeth Frizzell.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Where? Thank you. Okay, man. Good to see you. Good to see you, sir. Take care of yourself. Good to see you, man. in this evening's Monday night politics session. Tonight we have with us candidates for Dallas County Judge. In 2022, there's just far too many of us who still think the county judge decides cases. And so, on your opening statement, kind of give us some insight into just what the function of the county judge's office is. Each of you will have 2 minutes for your opening statement, and we'll go from there with questions. And Judge Jenkins, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Is this on? Am I good?
You're
I'm
good.
on. All right, great. So thank you so much. So I'll start off by just saying to the listeners out there, thank you. I know this has been a tough 2 years, and I know folks are mentally tired of all of this COVID, but unfortunately that virus is not tired of us. We need to listen to our medical doctors and do what they're telling us to do. So that includes wearing the mask and going to get that booster if you hadn't already. And if you hadn't had your shot yet, please take advantage of the free shots. They're easy to find at vaccines.org. You've probably heard me say that a lot because one of the jobs of a county judge is to be in charge of emergency management. And so leading this effort that's been going on for 2 years falls on me and my office. We were the first county in the South to put in place safer at home restrictions early on, and that kept us from having the problems that other big urban areas had early on. If you remember seeing New York and San Francisco and Detroit and others on television as they ran out of hospital space and had people on cots in convention centers. Part of the job of a county judge is to oversee the Workforce Solutions Board in getting people jobs. Part of the job is to chair the Commissioner's Court in making the rules and passing the budgets for both the county and Parkland Hospital. And the county judge serves in a lot of other capacities too. I do a lot with the schools, both with buses and school discipline and now with tutoring, and with other groups like the Child Poverty Action Lab that we're trying to reduce child poverty by 50% in this generation. So there's a lot left to do. We've got a big opportunity with the American Rescue Plan, and I'm looking forward to finishing the fight against COVID and getting our economy stronger. Thank you.
Very good. And you pass that to Mr. Clark.
Good evening. My name is Billy Clark. I first want to start by thanking Ms. Belt and the Dallas Examiner for this venue tonight. For over 12 years, they've been keeping citizens informed, so I really thank you for that. I also want to thank you to the many supporters, to include one of my own, my dear fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, who's one of the sponsors for tonight. So thank you. I'm very new to politics, but I'm not new to life. I've served in my country for over 22 years as a retired Air Force officer. Before that, I grew up in Waco, Texas, where I was a senior class president, my first introduction to politics. But I decided I wanted to go to the Air Force. My family didn't have the money for me to go to college, so I decided I wanted to go out and serve my country. And I did that for over 22 years. I retired as a major, senior officer, did a whole lot of things to include flying airplanes and surviving a plane crash in 2009. After the plane crash, I decided, you know what, maybe I want to do something on the ground a little bit longer. So I decided to go to law school right here in Dallas, Texas. I went to the University of North Texas, Dallas College of Law, where I was the very first graduate of that school. And I want to thank Senator Royce West for having the vision to put UNT Dallas College of Law right downtown. Some of the things that I'm looking forward to in this campaign is just providing that new direction, that leadership. As a former commander, I've been in situations where I've had to lead people that maybe didn't want to do the things I wanted them to do or that they wanted to do, but through working together as a team, having one common goal, that was the one thing that I was able to get done and get focused on throughout my career in the military. And I plan to do the same things as the Dallas County Judge. The judge mentioned as far as the position of the county judge earlier. Well, in some counties, under 200,000, it is a judicial matter, so they do try some cases. But thankfully, in our county, we have a lot more people that can do those things for us. So I'm here for you.
Keep the mic, and we'll give the first question to you, and then hand off to Judge Jenkins. the Dallas County Commissioners Court has been known to be pretty politically charged, right? Democrats and Republicans, and somehow has to figure out a way to be equitable in delivery of services across a huge, huge county with a whole bunch of people. Folk in southern Dallas, that is black folk, always feel as if there's this fall off or drop off in delivery of services or delivery of anything, of substance, to the positive. So how would you use that role to change either the perception or the reality of that?
Yeah, good question. First of all, I live in Cedar Hill, so I know exactly what you're talking about. When I retired from the Air Force in 2014, right before I went to law school, I did my retirement ceremony in DeSoto at the hotel right there. Can't think of the name of it. I believe it's the Hampton Inn in DeSoto. I've seen some of the deficiencies of just the infrastructure that we have in the southern part of Dallas County. Now, as the county judge, my job is going to be to ensure that the entire county operates the same way. So us in Southern County, Dallas County, should not be deprived of certain things, business related, or even just some of the criminal justice things that are going on, particularly against people of color, and particularly in the Southern Dallas County. We need to do better for the entire county. My team's slogan for this campaign is "Together we fight, together we win." And we need to take some of the partisan politics out of it, because at the end of the day, we're all serving one people, and that's the citizens of Dallas County. So hopefully we won't have a lot of the things that you see on TV going on as far as some of the fighting within the court, within the team, and then fighting with our state leaderships in front of the media. With me, you'll have a proactive leader that's served in all phases of our military, to include working for President Obama and the White House on airspace control for Air Force One.
Very good. Judge Jenkins?
Well, so it is very important that we do everything that we can to make sure that everyone gets the advantage of these American Rescue Plan dollars that on a party line vote the Democrats have delivered to us here in Dallas County. And between the school district, the city, and the county, there's over $1 billion there that can go to helping people with the complications and the damage done by COVID. We're going to be using, just at the county, $110 million of that this year to expand mental health access to people who have been shut out of the process of getting that access. We're also working with our 10 New Directions Task Force that my friend Freddie Haynes and Omar Suleiman and I started. And this is a task force where city managers sit down with people who are protesting bad policing practices and come up with ways together to do things that will be helpful for the community. That's where our Right Care teams have started. So if you call the police because your family member is in a crisis, a mental crisis or an addiction crisis, rather than a policeman showing up with a taser, hopefully you'll get one of our Right Care teams that shows up with Parkland employees to help your family member with their crisis, get them to where they need to be to get the help they need with what is a medical problem. We need to spend more money on affordable housing, and that's why under my leadership, the County Commissioners Court is turning dirt on what used to be our old South Dallas Government Center. That's going to be affordable housing where people at 80% of the poverty level will be able to afford affordable rents, along with people who are paying a higher price. We've got to do more with broadband in the southern sector so that our kids can learn and our people can work from home. We're spending $120 million of that money on that this year. And there's other things, but I'm out of time.
The next question I got coming up for you, Judge, and then hand off to Mr. Clark. No, you're still up, Judge. This is a question that's coming in from the audience. Black firms currently get about 1% of contracts dollars issued in the region, and it's the usual repeat firms. What will you do to increase access and opportunity for black and women-owned firms?
So we're doing what we can at the county on that now. We've hired a MWBE coordinator, a new MWBE coordinator, and we are outreaching constantly. My appointee to the small business group is Margot Posey. I'll be reappointing her, I think, tomorrow, and she chairs that group. And it's a lot of outreach. In the past, the county, the city, DART, and others had a hard time meeting those goals, but we're seeing improvement now. A lot of it is in recruitment, is in breaking up these big contracts into smaller ones so smaller companies can bid on the work. And a lot of it is in going out and letting people know that they've got a fair chance. And that's what these groups that we're staffing up over the last couple of years have been doing. And so you've seen the spend in Dallas County continuing to go up, even a little before COVID, and then especially with these COVID dollars, so that we're meeting our objectives of hiring minority firms. And we don't want it to just go to the same old guys. Nothing against the same old guys, but we're trying to aim at people who have a net worth that is below millions and millions of dollars. So small businesses get started, so that you have an opportunity to where you're driving around the neighborhood and you see successful businesses in your neighborhood, not just one giant company that sucks up all of the business. Those things are very, very important. We need MWBs to thrive because we need kids to see successful businesses in their neighborhood and to have leaders that they can emulate and see that happening everywhere. And so we're going to continue to spend money on that. We're pushing money towards making sure that that happens. We've got a clear instruction to our purchasing director that we expect those goals to be met, and that his performance evaluation is dependent on that.
And Mr. Clark, one of the things the judge suggested, that working to increase utilization, I've been working on that since I had a big fro, right? And he's saying it's improving, but it gets the cover of MWBE, Minority Women Business Enterprise. And what we do know is that black businesses typically come in last. So how would your approach to improving that situation have a targeted kind of response?
Right. Good question. I think first and foremost, our kids that look like me need to see successful business leaders and owners of businesses out in the community. So how can we do that? The most important way I think we can do it is through education. The county should lead the effort in working with the schools, the school districts throughout Dallas County, to entice them to go into business. Everyone's not going to go to college. We know that. Some folks are going to join the military like I did and then take the path to college. And some are going to go right out into the workforce. So the best way we can do that initially is to start with our children. Tell them that they can do things, whatever they want to do. They can do whatever they dream to do. And I don't think we're doing enough of that. Second, we need to work better with our businesses that are out there, our minority-owned businesses, to include veteran-owned businesses. If we can work with them, partner with them to show them that there's different, maybe a different process to get through the thick small business enterprise red tape and still be able to maintain a good business, a successful business, and a sustained business that's going to be supported by Dallas County.
And you could keep that mic. The question from the audience is, why is Mr. Clark challenging? Is there something that Judge Jenkins should be doing differently, or is there something that you believe should be done better in a more productive way?
Well, good question again. And I, like Judge Jenkins, we're both Democrats, and we have a lot of issues that are in common. Some of the things that we have different and why I am choosing to run against him. Number one, I don't have the years of being an attorney to run for any kind of other judgeship. I've only been an attorney for about 3 or 4 years. But I have an undergrad degree in government from the University of Texas at San Antonio, and also have a master's degree in public administration from the University of Oklahoma, coupled with my law degree, and a retired Air Force officer, former commander. All these things are designed leaders. I've been a leader at every single level, to include education, to include the military. So as you said earlier, Mr. O'Neill, about the role of the county judge, to me, the county judge is the chief elected official for the county. So he does a lot of administrative duties. And I think my background in education as well as the military are the exact reasons why I decided to run against Judge Jenkins. Now, I think Judge Jenkins is a good judge, but some of the things that he lacks is that leadership ability, that ability to lead from the front instead of sitting back behind a camera and attacking our governor, who's I'm completely against on most of the governor's views, but there's a more diplomatic way to get our point across, because we don't want to be in a system where we win a lawsuit at our level, but then it's overturned in Austin or at higher up courts from that. Because if the court doesn't look blue like we are, it's going to get overturned. So we're wasting our time, we're wasting your time, and we're showing that we're not capable of being a diplomatic leader.
Judge Jenkins?
Well, so I guess the question is, where do I differ from my opponent?
Yes, sir.
So, the Dallas Morning News asked questions of the people running for county judge, and the two Republicans and my opponent agree that it should be left up to the individual whether they want to wear a mask, and it should be left up to the individual whether they feel like getting vaccinated or not. And you just heard him say, I need to be more diplomatic to the governor. And those positions, that no one should be able to be required to get a vaccine in their job, including jobs like at the hospital, the people of the nursing home taking care of your grandmother, the people around your immunocompromised loved ones, that no one should be required to wear a mask. And by the way, I want to thank everyone in this room is wearing a mask, and I want to thank you for doing that, because that is the rule of law here in Dallas County, because the UT Southwestern, Baylor, Parkland, the Public Health Committee came to me and said masks will save lives during Delta, and they're saving lives now in Omicron. The mask orders may someday be overturned, but think of all the lives it will save in the process. I'll work with anybody, like I did Rick Perry in Ebola, to talk to him every day to end the nation's first Ebola outbreak, along with President Obama. But I'll stand up to anybody who wants to make you unsafe. Our governor is not interested in listening to any medical experts. He takes his cues from polls of what will do him selfishly the best with Republican primary voters. We need a strong leader that will stand up to bad leaders like Greg Abbott. That's what I've done, and that's what I'll do if you reelect me.
Judge, stay there, Judge. And there's a question for you. Can Judge Jenkins explain his response to safety when it came to the pandemic, winter freeze, and the effectiveness of the vaccine rollout?
Okay.
That's from the audience.
Sure. So as to the winter freeze, ready? As to the winter freeze, what I did quickly is I got the White House on the phone. By then we had President Biden in as the president. And by the way, on these masks and vaccines and everything else, my position is the same as the CDC's, President Biden's, and your local hospitals. And again, my opponent's position is the same as the Republicans running against me and Governor Abbott. But on that freeze, I got a hold of the chief of staff for the President of the United States, who had been the Ebola czar for President Obama. I got the CEOs of the major energy companies. That's NRG, that's one in San Antonio, and here it's what used to be TXU Energy, and got them talking about was there anything that could be done from the federal level, got them some help to try to get things started back. And then my team and I were in contact with you constantly through Twitter, through every way that we could communicate with you about where warming shelters were, who was out, what neighborhoods were coming back online, how to keep you safe, what not to try to do inside your apartment and your home to keep warm. The other question about the vaccine rollout, with our vaccine rollout, we served more people, even against, as Governor Abbott fought to keep us from doing it, We serve more people at Fair Park with vaccines than any other military site in the country, than any site other than the Rose Bowl in the country. And we did that with half as many military officers and half as much vaccine originally as any other government site. So, vaccine rollout, testing hasn't been perfect, but every day my team gets up and they try to get a little better. And if you get up and every day you try to do a little better, the vaccine rollout will prove to you eventually you will be the best.
Mr. Clark, since your positions are the same as your Republican opponents, you have a chance to clear that up for us.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to say that my position as far as masks is I believe in masks, and I'm not wearing one now because I'm speaking to you. And I also believe in science. If you look at any kind of disposable mask box, it says that that mask does not protect you from coronavirus most of the time. And I believe in the fact that our businesses should have the ability, if they're doing the right thing, to decide whether or not, if you come into their business, whether or not you wear a mask or not. Now, we all have a choice not to go into a business that's not going to allow, or that's going to mandate that you wear a mask or not mandate it. Just like you go into some business that if you walk in there and they say you can't carry a weapon in there, you decide for yourself, are you going to go into that place? As for me, if I'm in a crowded location, I have my mask on, and I do encourage folks to wear your mask as much as possible. But what is happening in our community is people are getting a false sense of security over a mask. Now, like I told you before, my first assignment in the military was as a medic. So I'm used to infection control procedures and things like that. I know exactly what could happen if you're not wearing an appropriate attire for surgery or seeing patients. As far as our mask use in our county or in our country, we're not getting provided enough of the N95 masks, things like that. Those are the things that can really help us, not the cloth masks that people wear every single day. So that's my position. As far as the vaccination, I've been fully vaccinated. I've had my booster. I can guarantee you probably I've had more vaccinations than anybody in this room, to include anthrax, smallpox, yellow fever, Japanese encephalitis. I believe in vaccinations, so I encourage everyone to get vaccinated as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And last question and wrap up. What are your thoughts on term limits so that we don't have representatives that stay forever and make a career out of county government and cease to represent their constituents?
Absolutely.
And closing statement.
Okay. I believe that for the county judge should not serve over 8 years, period. Because after 8 years in any position, likely, you're going to lose focus on what you're there for. New things are going to develop. People with new visions are going to come forward. But if you're holding a seat indefinitely, we're just putting a hold on any progress that our county could have. So I believe 8 years term limits for county judge is appropriate, just like some mayor races, things like that, have a term limit. As well as higher offices like our president. Who wants to see a 12-year president, especially the one we had before our current president? Imagine 12 years of that. So my position on that, limit 8 years so that we can get new people in there, fresh ideas, new leaderships with diversity, someone that looks like Dallas County, someone that has the credentials, someone that has the education, and someone that lives in the county that really needs to see improvement. That's the Southern Dallas County sector, and that's me, Billy Clark.
Thank you very much. Judge Jenkins, term limits and closing statement.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So on term limits, you've got an opportunity to replace your county judge this year. You can vote against me. You can vote against the other people that are on the ballot. I hope you won't, because I want you to know I'm not tired. I've got more to do. We've got an exciting opportunity working with the school district in the city and this $1 billion to really do some things that can bless not only people for 3 or 4 years while we spend that money, but for generations if we do it right. But it's going to take a leader that people can trust, that people know, and that's an advantage you have with me. Is I've worked with the schools, I've worked with the cities, I've worked with all the city managers, I have calls with them regularly, and I know the people and the places where we can move the needle. And so I hope you'll give me that opportunity. Look, when it comes to this COVID, this is not my opinion and the president and the vice president's opinion versus Governor Abbott and my three opponents' opinion, okay? This is a medical situation, just like, God forbid, if you had a serious medical diagnosis from a doctor, you need to listen to the doctors. And the doctors here locally at UT Southwestern, at Baylor, at Parkland, at Methodist, at the county are all saying the same thing. Wear a mask, get vaccinated, not do whatever you feel like. Not every business do their own thing. And every person do your own research to see what you think you should do. If we are going to end a pandemic that has claimed over 800,000 American lives, 6,000 of them right here in Dallas County, we're going to need to listen to our doctors. We're going to need to follow some base guidelines. We're not talking about shutting down the economy. We are talking about, during times of high spread, our kids wearing a mask in school. And we're talking about following the rules that everybody else in this room is following and wearing a mask indoors.
Thank you very much to both of our candidates tonight for Dallas County Judge. Judge Jenkins, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you again, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, be careful out there. Good to see you, Brother Clark. All right. Slate of candidates for Dallas County Clerk. to Monday Night Politics. Tonight we have with us candidates for Dallas County Clerk. And we have with us the incumbent, Mr. John Warren, and one challenger of two scheduled to be here, Mr. Marcus Turner Jr. We noted that tonight's forum that had the DA's office and the county judge and the office gets pretty esoteric. Folk don't know what you do. So I know that you have to explain often, Mr. Warren, that just what it is that the Dallas County Clerk does. So in your opening statement for 2 minutes, give us some idea of what the role of the county clerk is and your opening statement.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Ms. Belt, I thank you for this opportunity, and Dallas Examiner for allowing us to be here. And as our moderator said, to explain, to educate the voters on what, in this instance, the county clerk's office does. In short, the county clerk's office serves as the custodian of records for Dallas County's records. Coincidentally, this evening, you had the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. You had the Dallas County Judge's Office, and you also have the District Clerk's Office. The County Clerk's Office is the most diverse county, the most diverse department in the county, in that not only am I the clerk of court, I'm also the recorder of deeds, I'm also the local registrar for vital records, and I'm also the 6th member of the Commissioner's Court. A lot of people think it's only the county judge and the 4 commissioners, but I serve as the ex officio member of the Commissioner's Court. The role of the county clerk, as I said, is a custodian of records. That means that there has to be someone who's not a party to any of those instances, whether it's a court proceeding, the Commissioner's Court proceeding, and I am responsible for maintaining those records as the Texas Constitution says, proper and in order. And so I operate in a sphere of authority that no other elected official can interfere for the purpose of making sure that the citizens of the county can trust and have integrity in the records that I maintain. That's the role of the county clerk. If I can go into why I'm running for re-election, I ran in 2006 and was elected in 2007 on a platform of creating a virtual office. I see county government as a business, not as a government. And if you look at businesses, businesses are always incorporating new technology so that they can be more efficient. As a result, that's what I've done. That was my commitment. And as a result, I've received a number of firsts. I was the first county clerk in the state of Texas out of 254 counties to have a paperless office. I was the first county clerk in the state of Texas who had all of their records. Dallas County was established in 1846. All of our records from 1846 to current have been digitized.
Outstanding.
Yep, time is up.
All right. Mr. Turner, you are running to change the office of Dallas County Clerk.
Yes.
Your opening statement, sir. 2
All right.
minutes.
Hello, everyone. I am Marcus Turner Jr. from DeSoto, Texas. Graduated from David W. Carter. Also graduated from Jarvis Christian College with a Bachelor's of Business Administration, and currently at University of North Texas at Dallas studying public leadership. For the last 8 to 10 years, I've been within the county. Over that time, what I've seen is little changes that we can make. I've taken note of those changes. I've really prepared myself from this day. I'm from this county. I'm willing and ready to go ahead and lead the county clerk's office. And I ask for you to support me in my journey to do so. What I'm looking to do is bring new leadership to Dallas County for the future. When I say the future, what I'm talking about is from now and the next 20 years. I'm the only candidate in this race who I feel like can lead you to that next 20 years, and I'm asking you to give me that opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. Warren noted that the technological changes that he's brought to the office. We have questions that come in from listeners to our viewers tonight. Says, well, what do you do about mortgage fraud? There are a lot of fraudulent deeds being recorded. I don't know if that's the facts or not, but what would you do in the event that someone presented a document to you? He talked about the integrity necessary for holding those documents, and it would turn out to be a fraudulent document.
Yes. As it pertains to fraudulent documents, what you have to do is you want to do your research. What we don't want to do is get hasty and, go ahead and throw out answers that sound good. We want to do our research. We want to talk to everybody who's educated on this subject, and we want to send it to a system so we can thoroughly identify where this document came from, what is it intended for, and if it is in fact fraudulent. So those are the steps I'll be taking, and obviously if I do get in that position, that's something that we'll be looking not only for me to expand, but me to take it to another level as for what Mr. Warren already has it right now.
Very good. Mr. Warren? Fraudulent deeds being recorded. Can we get business registration, DBA name done online?
As it relates to fraudulent deeds, Local Government Code, Chapter 51, states that we are required to accept a document for recording. That's what my office does. However, one of the things that I've done as it relates to addressing the issue of property fraud, which is very high, I put in a system. I pay for it. It's free to the public. All the thing the public has to do is go online and subscribe to my property fraud alert system. One of the things that I've also done is work with the district attorney's office to restrict the way documents are filed. Sometimes they are not filed. When it says proper, that they should have a notary public sign off on the document. But if you've paid attention to the stories on that Tanya Iser did on the news, a lot of the notary publics participate in the fraud. So that means that no matter what legislation you put in place, there's still going to be opportunities for people to manipulate the system. And so do we want to spend our time battling, trying to play a sort of chess game with criminals, or do we want to put in a system that gives the public the awareness? That's what I've done. The property fraud alert system notifies everyone of any instance where a document may be filed in their property's name. And I think you mentioned DBAs. As it relates to DBAs, we're actually in the process of creating the system so that a DBA can be filed electronically. However, because it's required to be notarized, we have to have an electronic notarization in order to accept that electronically. But my office is governed by statutes. In this instance, the property code does not allow for electronic filing of DBAs because of the notary. It has to be an electronic notarization in order for us to do that. Once we've implemented legislation to allow for John and Jane Q. Public to do electronic notarization, then we'll be able to do that. Right now, it's restricted to attorneys only. Thank you.
Again, next question is to you and then to Mr. Turner. You've noted many of the changes implementing technology, but what other improvements in staff management and administration can we expect from you going forward?
That is a great question. My office, I have an excellent management team, and what we do for our evergreening process, if you will, we actually query the people that come to my office as it relates to the complaints that they have, the issues that they have, and how we want to address those matters if we can. We don't turn away people. We make sure that even if it's something that's not related to my office, we make sure that we provide them with direct contact for the office for which that issue belongs. One of the things we've just done, and we just republished our website. We have updated our website. If you go to Dallas County's website and you go to County Clerk and you look at the County Clerk's web page and you look at all of the other web pages, you will see a vast difference between how we provide information versus how other departments in the county provide information. One of the things that we do, we always make sure that we stay in close contact with John and Jane Q. Public so that we are addressing the issues as it relates to my office. Like I said, we also put people in touch with points of contact in other departments so that they'll be able to assist those customers as well.
Very good. Mr. Turner?
Could you say the question one more time, sir?
Say, what improvements would you implement?
Yes, sir.
Staff management and administration could we expect should you be elected?
Yes. The improvements I will make, obviously, is being out in the public. One thing that I am concerned about this city, because this is a city where I'm born in. So you're going to see me, like I've already been, in the community. Number two, when a crisis hit, maybe like the pandemic, we don't want to shut all our offices down. What that means is during the pandemic, I was at the county, so I was able to see firsthand how once the pandemic hit, the county clerk's office got out of there. This may not be our offices, but the office that I see, when we were there at a full-time schedule, we were looking over and the county clerk's office was gone. It's just simply unacceptable for a central office in Dallas County to leave in crisis. Crisis is a time for opportunity. And like I said, that's the platform that I'm running on. Also, task force. Probably the number one thing I was asked when I was on the front lines at the county was, where's this office? Where is that office? And primarily it's the county clerk's office. So the information is just not out there. And so we want to get that information out there. We want to tell people where you go and file a DBA, because a lot of people don't know. I heard him say that he changed the website, but when I looked 2 weeks ago, it was saying the Renaissance Tower. And we now know that the records building is open. I went to the records building last week, and you just have no information. It's not, you don't know how to get around, and the signs are not available. I went to the second floor, and it was a piece of paper, probably big as the paper that you have there, telling you where different things at. That's simply not the right thing to do for Dallas. You talk about technology, you want to get the technology to the people. What we know is people use social media. People use the internet. People are outside. People are at all of these sporting events, and they're at events all over Dallas County. Why can't the county clerk be there? What I want to do is bridge the gap to get that information to the people so it can be the people's county clerk's office. And that's the basically the first couple of changes that I'll make as your county clerk.
One of the questions asked, and then you'll hand off to Mr. Warren. One of the questions asked, it was noted that Mr. Warren had been asked about changing the way his employees are paid.
Yeah.
So we'll get to you. He said the commissioner's office is responsible for low pay for the staff. So what efforts are being made to ensure employee retention, given their pay status?
Well, one thing you want to do, you want to bring the employees in and you want to talk to them. You really want to know what's on your employees' mind. I've talked to some of the employees at the county clerk's office, so I know what they're feeling about it. As it relates to upping the pay, what I seen during the pandemic, I hate to go back there, we're still in it, but in the beginning of the pandemic, when his office got out of town, we were asking, our elected official, hey, what are the things we can do? We want to give raises. And then we look around with no county clerk and we see Mr. Warren in the commissioner's court asking the commissioners for his employees to get paid, but they're at home. So when the people in Dallas County are calling in, they're calling us because we're one of the only entities that's answering the phone. And so what I want to make sure is that my personnel is competent, that we prioritize public value and public service. And that way, when we do go in front of the commissioners, they can see our work. Even in time of crisis, we can be that true, essential department that the county needs. And so what you basically need, you don't want to go up there where your apartment is nowhere to be found. You want to go and show them that you've done the work, you're still doing the work, you're committed to doing the work, and you want the people in Dallas County to know for sure that you're doing the work.
Very good.
Yes.
Mr. Warren. Again, the question was, you mentioned in another forum that the only thing you would change in your office is how your employees are paid.
Well, that's kind of a interesting question, and I'm glad Mr. Turner just informed us that he is totally clueless as it relates to how my office functions. When it came down to the pandemic, the county judge, as the chief executive officer of the county, closed the offices in Dallas County. Chief Justice Nathan Heck, who is the Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, deemed that courts are essential. While Mr. Turner may not have seen my staff on the first floor, understanding that courts were essential, but the county facilities were still closed to the public. My staff, they did part of their work downstairs, they did the rest of the work upstairs where the courts are, which is where the essential work is as relates to making sure the judges had the opportunity to conduct their virtual hearings. That's what he doesn't understand about how courts function. As it relates to, also as it relates to that, my staff has been ready. Since I implemented paperless courts, we already had laptops. When it came down to the pandemic, there was very little for my office to do. The primary work that we had to do was getting other departments that we work with as it relates to the judiciary on board with doing virtual processes. That's where my employees were. They were not on the first floor because the building was closed. They were up on the fifth floor because as it relates to social distancing, you had Ms. Petrie's staff who was down there doing theirs and we had ours so that we could have the freedom to take off our masks. We move our staff from the first floor to the fifth floor so that they can work. That's to respond to that. As it relates to our staff, I have always advocated for my staff. It would be nice if I can just write a check to determine what my employees get, but that's something that the Commissioner's Court does, and it's been repeated over and over again that Dallas County employees are paid under market. And I have done reorganizations to increase the salary. I had a reorganization on last summer to raise and when I took office, I had grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, grade 7 clerks. I only have grade 6 and grade 7. The 4s and 5s are gone. That's the compassion I've been having in getting my staff on board with a higher salary.
Okay. One next question, and then hand off to Mr. Turner, and then we'll come back for a closing statement. There's a lot, and you just alluded to this, Mr. Warren. There's a lot of county clerk responsibilities that are behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Can you share what some of those are, and any changes that you might go forward with as you implement new technologies?
That's a very good question. One of the things that we've done, we've worked in conjunction with the county judge, the commissioner's court, the members of the judiciary, the Dallas delegation of the Texas legislature, as well as the Texas Supreme Court and the Office of Court Administration, to look at lessons learned from the current pandemic, to look at what is it that we can do going forward and preparing for the next pandemic. One of the things that is essential that has not been accomplished is the ability to do an entire virtual jury trial in present day. That's one of my goals for my re-election. My background is courts and technology. I combine those two so that I'm able to accomplish the things that we need to do to take Dallas County into the future. One of the things that we need to understand is that technology changes, business process changes based on what happens in the legislature. We're always on top of those, and we make sure that our processes are in place so that we can accommodate those things. Several years ago, I mentioned that my office has been the first. My office was the first county clerk's office in the state of Texas to broadcast commissioners' court meetings. 3 years after I did that, the legislature passed the law that says clerks can, that it was a requirement for those meetings to be broadcast. The Commissioner's Court legislative liaison came to me and asked me, what would it take to do that? I said, I've already done that. That has been the common theme across my office. All over. If you ask anyone in Dallas County what's the most advanced office in Dallas County, they would say the county clerk's office. If you ask them what elected official advocates more and engaged more than any other elected official, they will say John Warren.
Mr. Turner, closing statements, and what would you do to improve processes as you?
Yeah, first I want to say Mr. Warren did say that I was clueless. But I honestly, I was there, and I want to be truthful with the people. I was there. They wasn't on the 5th floor. We were literally, when we had time, texting county clerk employees, asking them where they were. They were saying at home. They told us to go home. The only thing people are clueless about is who the county clerk is and what the county clerk really does. And so that's what I want to do. What was the question again, so I can go ahead and take it on home?
Improvements that you would make,
yes, sir,
on those behind the scenes deals, and then your closing statement.
Yeah, the improvements that I'll make is task force number one. One improvement I want to make is having a task force that can answer the phones. Mr. When you call the county clerk's office right now, they'll give you 6 or 7 options. You know how it is when you call somewhere, the automated system picks up. Nobody wants to talk to the automated system. Now, this is not just me talking. When I'm going out on the campaign trail and asking people, they saying that they don't like it. So when I'm telling them I propose a task force of individuals, like at the office I was working, who will answer that phone and send you to the correct department that you need. And so that's just a waste of time. We're going to do away with that. What we also want to do is we want to give that information to the public. The reason Mr. Warren is talking so fast in this time is because people don't know. But we want to, in not just election time, when it's time to come out and get votes. We want to do this for years. We want to do this my whole term, give information to the public, the southern sector, the northern sector, the eastern, and the western. This is the city where I'm from, and I'm passionate about serving the people. You won't just see me every 4 years and me look in the camera and pretend like everybody knows me. I really want to do the work of Dallas County, and I really want to put in the time to make our courts more accessible and our essential documents more available. And also, last but not least, we want people to know where to go. If I ask, do you know where to go to get a DBA? I want the people looking in this camera right now to answer, do you know where to go? Do you know where to go to file for probate court? Do you know how to use e-filing? If you don't, then look into my campaign. I may be your right choice for Dallas County. Marcus Turner, Jr.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Mr. Moore? Mm-hmm.
You've heard a lot of interesting things, and but one of the things I have not heard is what is the county clerk, what is John Warren doing wrong? There isn't anything. Mr. Turner referenced that my staff went home. Absolutely, because as I said, they were issued laptops because our office is virtual, so they can go home to do that. We have single mothers taking care of children. When children are sick, when children are out of school, I gave them the ability to work from home so that they can take care of their kids. The schools were closed. You have to be able to have options. This pandemic has been similar to changing the tire while the car is still in motion. That's basically what it has been. You know, you can hear a lot of things, but a lot of it is just mediocre things. When you're running a massive operation, there are a lot of moving parts, and there is no way to predict what's going to happen at any given moment. But as it relates to me, and I always address things as they come up. Mr. Turner's talking about being out in the public. The massive operation that we have does not allow it. I tried that once before. I started doing town hall meetings, I started doing all of that, but when I got back to the office, there was so much work consuming. I was working till 9 o'clock at night. I still do, but because of the technology that I have in my office, I can do it remotely. As it relates to who's the best choice, in this election, you have a proven record. I was appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court to not just one, but two committees, the Supreme Court's Judicial Committee on Information Technology and the Texas Supreme Court's Advisory Committee. I was also appointed by the President of the National Association of Counties to their Finance Committee. When you look at the work that I do on a regular basis in helping the public, because I am a public servant, I'll just walk you through my day. Today, I assisted an 85-year-old couple in getting a marriage license. I worked with a guy for 45 minutes on the phone to solve a property fraud issue. When it comes down to this, you have two choices. Consider me like State Farm. I'm a good neighbor and I'm always there.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for our candidate for Dallas County Clerk. Thank you so much. Mr. Warren, thank you so much. Yeah. All right, thank you. Welcome to Monday Night Politics, and tonight we have two candidates running for Dallas County District Clerk. And we've had an invigorating kind of session, in all of the races that we've talked to tonight have been those that folk know about the races, but they don't really know what the people do for those seats. And so I don't think the Dallas County District Clerk escapes that either. So we have tonight with us Ms. Amy Thompson Hollins, the challenger for the seat, and the incumbent, Ms. Felicia Petrie. Ms. Petrie, will you start with opening statement for 2 minutes, please?
Good evening. I'm Felicia Petrie. I am the District Clerk for Dallas County. Thank you, Ms. Bell, for this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. O'Neill, for being here. The District Clerk is the custodian of records for the district courts. We maintain the records for all of the district courts. I also manage the passport office. So the district clerk serves as the record keeper. So when you file your records, you file those with my office. We have 3 passport offices that we're also responsible for. That's our best customer service that we have. We always receive numerous commendations for our customer service in that area. In the district clerk's office, I also host a Expunction Expo. The district clerk's office in Dallas County was the first in the state of Texas to host an Expunction Expo with our district attorney's office. So this year alone, we expunged 860 records. So when I say expunged, I mean we cleared their records. Those individuals that were eligible to have their records cleared, we were able to do that. That's a vast amount of work, but it's worth it. So it allows those individuals to start over. So I believe in second chances to get a job, to get housing, to get homes. During the pandemic, we had to shut down our passport office, but we opened up again with scheduling. So now you're able to schedule an appointment. So we're able to be in compliance with COVID guidelines and serve the public as well. And I also work with a Time Served project with the City of Dallas. So we're customer service oriented. I love my job. I'm great at what I do and look forward to another term. Thank you very much for your support.
Ms. Hollins, 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Good evening. Monday Night Politics, Dallas Examiner, Sister Belt, Brother O'Neill. Thank you for this forum. I have watched this forum for years, and this is my first time up on this stage presenting as a candidate, so I'm thankful and grateful that you have laid this stage for us. I am Amy Thompson Hollins, your choice for change in the district clerk's office. Ms. Petrie failed to realize that we also do MAG Court. That's our 24-hour operation. So we have to make sure that we understand criminal, juvenile, civil, tax, MAG Court, and the opportunity to do passports and work with the Department of State. I'm a lifelong Democrat, educated in DISD, Bachelor of Science from Texas A&M University, Human Resources degree from the University of Dallas. I have over 15 years of relevant community service experience and 20 years of professional experience, customer service, human resource management, and labor relations, and experience in the district clerk's office. I'm running to place the district clerk's office under new management. So the people of Dallas County receive a more progressive leader who knows how to get production out of today's employees in order to help today's community. And as the former HR representative in the office understand, I have submitted to the elected official. I was in submission to the elected official as her employee. I had a great rapport with Ms. Petrie. She asked me to do something, I took care of it. When it was something that needed to be done that I couldn't take care of, I let her know. At every opportunity, if there was an issue, we talked about it. We talked several times a day, several times a week, without fail. So make sure you understand that I stepped away to run. There's a difference between running away and running away to run. So I am your candidate for change, Amy Thompson Hollins, Dallas County District Clerk candidate, your choice for change.
First question to you then, Ms.
Okie
Hollins,
dokie.
is you worked in the office, you decided that you would do something different. Tell us about what those things are.
Okay. So currently in the office, the elected official chooses to chronically not approve qualified, experienced, bilingual, and sometimes LGBT candidates for hire, deferring instead to friends and family. This leads to systematic, chronic staffing problems. Problems that existed before I arrived, problems that existed while I was there, and problems that likely exist right now. In this office, you'll find a handbook that is full of outdated, discriminatory language and prohibitions, punishments that are more harsh than the Dallas County Code. Understand the Dallas County Code. In this office, the elected official's responsibility is to approve the changes. Department soups, managers, HR, just like myself, can present candidates for recommendation, ideas for improvement plans, but if the elected official does not approve those, does not review or email, does not respond, those approvals will never be brought to fruition. And as far as I'm concerned, when it's time to hire, you use your trusted sources. You hire, you get people who, you hire someone to do the hiring as an HR manager should, and you should be able to trust that person to do that job. Unfortunately, that is not my experience. So I stepped away to run because we cannot allow the same kind of things to continue to happen just because there is an incumbent in office. This position comes available and vacant every 4 years. So I stepped out and chose to run. I challenged the code by filing a CTA on July the 30th. And on August the 5th, my future was freed up by the district clerk's office. I am now receiving unemployment, and I appreciate the opportunity to even do that, because once you have to be separated from a job, I have never been terminated, but once you have to be separated for a job for discriminatory practices, you have to begin to better yourself. Thank you.
Ms. Petrie? Any response that you may have, but clearly, HR can't be the function, it's not the function of the office. The office is providing another function. So if there are issues in HR, how will we address those?
The district clerk doesn't interview staff. That's the HR director's job. I'm well aware of magistrate court because there have been times when I've worked in magistrate court. So I haven't forgotten about it. I've worked in every aspect of the district clerk's office. Working as a clerk, working in e-filing, any of it, I have experience in doing it. I don't ask my staff to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself, and I know how to do that job. So I'm not discriminatory, and I don't think any of my staff would say that I am. I'm the first African-American woman to hold this position, and to say otherwise is very disingenuous. However, the district clerk's office, we're well a diverse staff. I have a hard-working staff. We worked throughout the pandemic. It was not easy. Many uncertainties. We didn't know what to expect. However, they rallied around. My managers rallied, and we got the work done. Individuals weren't concerned about that. They wanted to file their paperwork, and they wanted it processed. So, and we did that. And we did the best we could with what we had. We were fortunate that many of my staff, we didn't have any tragedies to deal with. So I'm thankful and grateful for a hardworking team. We are public servants, and we're here to serve the public, and that's what we do. I am a public servant. Mr. Warren spoke about working late. I understand that. Sometimes it's a 7-day-a-week job. And that's what I do. So some issues Ms. Thompson addressed, I'm not going to address those issues. I'll talk about the things that I do.
So among those things, and it's a question from our viewers, will you implement a scheduling system that allows all litigants to schedule motions?
Will I implement what?
It says, that's the question, will you implement a scheduling system that allows litigants to schedule their motions?
There's 24-hour filing, so you don't have to schedule an appointment. You can simply just file.
Okay.
There's electronic filing if you choose to do that. There's Guide and File, which is on our website, and it walks you through the system on how to file electronically. Or you can file through the office. You can walk in and simply file. Some people get confused with filing, thinking if they send in an email, that's an electronic filing. Well, that does not meet the criteria. So you don't need an appointment to do that. Electronic filing is 24 hours.
So I'll ask you this question and then hand off to Ms. Hollins. Of all of the changes, again, as we talked earlier today, all the changes that you have implemented in your office, what are the things that you would do to improve the functionality of the office?
Well, we work with the vendor, and the vendor just did a transition with their browser. So we went from Internet Explorer to a different browser. So we have some challenges with that. So we work with our vendor and our IT department on a daily basis trying to get it corrected. So that has been challenging lately, but we're working overtime to do it. And we have communicated with the judiciary and also with the legal community on the issues that we are experiencing. However, everyone understands what's happening. And it's not just with Dallas County, it's a statewide thing. So we are working on that. My staff, it's a little frustrating sometimes when you work all day sometimes and it seems like you haven't accomplished anything. But at the end of the day, we know that we've put in a full day, and we're working very hard to get it done. Right now, we're working on a criminal case management system. We're hoping to retire a 35-year-old operating system that we have. John and I are extremely proud of that. We just had a meeting today where we're both investing money for additional resources to get it done so that it will be implemented on time, on schedule. So we invest in those initiatives. So I'm extremely proud of that. I'm extremely proud of our digital process, digitizing our records, making technology a part of our platform.
Very good. Ms. Holland, you mentioned human resources. What other areas that you would implement to improve the functioning of the office?
Okay, I think I understand the question, what other changes I would implement? Well, the main issue right now is staffing and the way hiring is done. Ms. Petrie did mention that, of course, the HR person is responsible for human resources issues like hiring. I was, as an employee, told, sit with the supervisors. Next week I was told, don't sit with the supervisors. Go over to Frank Crowley and help. Don't go over to Frank Crowley and help. So the inconsistency in that as an HR leader was unbearable. You cannot get a lot done when there is not a level of trust or not a level of understanding that you have to put in the time, sit with the supervisors in order to go through candidates in close proximity so that they can receive a similar experience. The issues continue with staffing problems have led to backlogs. Backlogs in e-filing. Ms. Petrie did mention e-filing and the transition to a new system. The issue I'm having is that we can't continue to allow leaders to go into these positions when they have issues with foresight and delegating. I would say failed at delegating. They failed at implementing an annual process that takes place every year. When fees go into the system, that's an annual situation. So what I would do differently is have the foresight to communicate with IT in November, or after the legislative session when the statutes change, to make sure that on January 1 or this year, January 3, those fees are in the system so we won't have the backlog that we have today. Right now, there are 3,300 cases of backlog, 3,300 cases late to the judiciary impacting them. 3,300 cases, including families who are now impacted by this backlog. There are errors. So I would have more forethought, O'Neill, to make sure that there is not this kind of a backlog that we can kind of foresee because it happens almost annually. Thank you.
So, and I'll follow up with this question, and then you hand off to Ms. Petrie. So what are the things that contribute to this backlog besides pandemic?
Right. Well,
private dockets?
Not necessarily the pandemic. I'd actually say that Ms. Petrie did a great job during the pandemic of managing the department. Of course, the input was a little bit lower because we were in a pandemic. Some of the things that were allowed, which were telecommuting, the opportunity for people to work from home, the opportunity for people to flex a little bit, their shifts actually worked. We had to social distance. As HR, I'm a professional. I have 2 degrees. I had 13 years of experience with airline industry and being able to telecommute. I have been mischaracterized as having taken a year off of work. And I appreciate this segue because I did not take a year off of work. My chief deputy at the time and Ms. Petrie approved my ability to stay home and stay safe thanks to Clay Jenkins. And I teleworked for the period of time that I need to until I got boosted and returned to work. During that time as well, I had a medical procedure. And if we're not gonna let Abbott up the street tell us what to do with our reproductive health, I'm not gonna let an elected official here mischaracterize use of my benefit as abuse. So understand, teleworking occurred, and it was very productive during the pandemic. But when we opened is when the issue occurred. There were things that we could have kept in place because we went from 3 laptops in the district clerk's office of one I had, right, to having more laptops so other people can be able to work from home. So we were very productive at that time. We were doing work. You can be in the office from 8 to 8 p.m. You can spend the night in the office, but if you're not a productive leader and manager, sometimes that time in the office is misspent. So a lot of times you have to shoo people out of your office so that you can get work done between the hours of 8 and 5. We should rest so that we can come back and fight. We should rest so we can come back and have tough discussions with the Commissioner's Court.
Thank you. Ms. Petrie, what are some of the things, again, that contribute to this backlog, and how will we address them going forward?
Well, the new system contributed to the backlog. Families, and it's not all just families that have been impacted. We have civil cases, family cases, juvenile cases, and criminal cases. So that's a total of all the cases. So I doubt if my opponent even knows what the e-filing system looks like. I don't think she's even been in the system. So apparently one of my staff members have informed her how many cases are in the e-filing system. But that's neither here nor there. We are working those. Our temporary protective orders are our priorities. So we make sure that we take care of those every day. Some things are out of our control. We cannot control what our third-party vendor is doing. All we can do is work our cases as best we can. And my staff has been working hard to do that. I appreciate all the work that they do. My managers work extremely hard. We work hard every day. It's easy to stand up and say what you would and would not do until you've done it yourself. I work those files. I understand the system. We have all the things in place that we do. Our IT department works extremely close with us. They always give us input on what we can do. It's changing every day. Every day we're implementing new things, new ideas, technologies change every day. And the district clerk's office and the county clerk's office, we're working together to make sure we keep up with those changes.
Ms. Hollins, how will this is a two-parter and then your closing statement, how will the office improve upon your election and your closing statement?
Okay. I'm sorry, the closing statement is included in this 2 minutes?
We'll give you, yes. Yes, ma'am.
The office will improve by being under new management. It will improve by being under a leader who stays in a leadership mode, in a management mode. Whether or not I have gone into the e-file system or can process an e-file is not relevant, because my goal as an elected official is to lead a department of 270 employees. I don't want to so quickly fall into being able to just stop what I need to do for leadership and begin to e-file. You don't want your elected official stuck in the e-file queue, clearing a backlog of 3,300 cases, staying up all night. You want your elected official to get a rest at night, come in and be ready to present to Commissioners Court every other Tuesday until you get the things that your department needs. Under my leadership, I will petition and petition and petition the Commissioners Court with the help of human resources, big human resources in Dallas County, to make sure I draw up the restructuring of positions in order to get my clerks every 10 cents that they can get, to do away with clerk 4s and clerks 5s, as Mr. Warren said he had done. Bring in people off the street to make sure that they can be hired at those entry-level positions. But to do that, you have to systematically move people up and elevate them and trust that they will be able to do a good job. If I lead, I will trust. I have a list of demands. I have a list of demands from the people. The budget, we want the money where it should be on getting files accessible and restructuring of positions. I have a list of demands. The staff want a handbook that is relevant to what things look like today. We want to remove unimaginative, discriminatory language that oppresses and arrests the morale of the employees. The county leadership, we have a list of demands. The Commissioners Court is not a place to just show up to present what you have on for the day, for your people to show up and see what you have on for the day. We want you to go there to lobby for a position. I have a list of demands. The criminal attorneys and constituents demand that you make the probable cause
Ms. Hollins.
Family,
We got
attorneys,
it. We got it cut. That's your closing statement.
My 2 minutes and the last one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
Y'all
ma'am.
elect Amy Thompson Howard, your next choice, the best choice, the community's choice for change in the district clerk's office.
Thank you so much. Hand that to Ms. Petrie. Ms. Petrie, your closing statement. 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Ms. Thompson doesn't understand the process. The commissioners, we have a budget. You present your budget in October, before October. October 1 is our budget year. You don't go on demand. You go with your budget. We have a budget analyst that approves your budget before time. So you can't just go and demand something. You work within your budget. We don't have any grade 4s. She was responsible for, and she'll tell you, Ms. Petrie wouldn't allow me to do it. I didn't have time to prepare something that was her responsibility. What I am responsible for is managing that department, making sure my staff is safe, making sure we're filing paperwork, making sure the judiciary is taken care of, making sure attorneys are taken care of, making sure we're providing customer service, making sure that people are comfortable when they come into the courthouse, making sure my staff is comfortable, making sure I have an open door policy where my staff can come and speak to me. I have served as 2 terms as district clerk, 16 years within the district clerk's office, served in every aspect of that office. I know it. I love my job. I love what I do, and I'm asking for your support one more time. I am honored to serve as your district clerk, and I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you both. All right. Thank you. Okay. And that concludes our year of this week's Monday Night Politics. Thank you again, Ms. Belt, for the opportunity to serve as your moderator for our panelists tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week. And we've got fireworks scheduled for you, so please tune in. Thank you so much for your attendance on Monday Night Politics.